Hello and welcome to another episode of New Retirement Thinking. I'm Bronwyn Seaborne. Well, retirement planning is often approached in a one-size-fits-all way, where similar investment choices are put towards individuals with very different profiles. Today we take a look at why women specifically should be approaching their savings in a different way. And joining me to unpack this is Kim Potgieter, Director and Retirement Life Planner at Chartered Wealth Solutions. Kim, thank you so much for your time today. So we're talking about women and saving. Why should we be distinguishing between women and men?
Thanks, Bronwyn, for having me on for the show. Very much the reason we distinguish between the two differently is if you have a look at women, there's a few statistics around us as women that are quite different to men. And the fact is we live quite a lot longer. So we obviously need to be doing different planning because we're going to be living that much longer. There's also times where we're not necessarily going to be working if we decide to stay home to have our children. So there are different aspects, and I think as well we have a different relationship with money. There's a different emotion we've got around money. We'll chat about that as well.
So what it comes down to is that women should actually be aiming for a much higher figure when looking at retirement, isn't that so?
That's what they should be in practice. But now what is really happening is the absolute opposite. So for so many women, firstly, the statistics are that we don't earn as much as men earn, so we're not putting away as much. Also, we tend to want to care for our families and put everybody else before ourselves. So in that way as well, we don't necessarily have as much at the end of the day that men have got. And yeah, that's why there's different considerations. And I think what we're talking about is just different conversations that need to happen.
Kim, do you know how much more women need to save? Do you have a figure in mind? Is it 10% more? Is it 20% more? Or is it all case by case kind of basis?
I really would want to say that it's case by case because we don't know what the two incomes are. Maybe you're a single person, maybe you're married, maybe you've got 3 children, maybe you've got 4 children, but what is your particular scenario? And then you do the planning around that. I mean, if I could say to everybody you should be putting away 20% towards retirement, I mean, look at the smile. I mean, please, and that's the problem is you put people off wanting to invest because you make the figure high and they say, you know what, I can't do it, so I'm just going to do nothing. So I think I'm more interested in encouraging people to do something rather than nothing.
Because what are the ramifications here? If women aren't planning correctly for retirement, are we seeing them burden their families? Do they become a drain on the state because they need to draw state pensions? What are we looking at in terms of that?
You know, we do get a government pension, which unfortunately isn't nearly enough for anybody really to be living on. And then, yes, it's for our children then to support us if we don't have enough money for retirement. So what happens is we've gone our whole lives trying to provide for everybody else so that we can be looking after them. And then we're needing to turn around and say, hang on, now you need to look after me, which is the thing we set out not wanting to ever do. So I think there's a balance between the two.
Finding that balance very, very tricky, I'm sure. Because why aren't women planning for their retirement? Are they still relying on their partners? Are they scared perhaps of the jargon that comes with financial planning? Is it the relationship they have with money? Why are women so hesitant to really take ownership of their financial futures?
So I think it's a bit of all of that. Really it is. I mean, I help people plan their retirement. So when they're coming in to see me, it's time for retirement. Often the husbands want to come in without their wives, or they say their wives aren't interested in coming in. So that is one thing. Then why are they not interested in coming in? And often the reason they're not interested is because they're intimidated, because of that financial jargon that gets spoken about. But I found it's very important then to rather let them envisage what the life is that they want and see how that money can enable that life. And by doing it that way, I've seen with women they become far more engaged, and there's actually a reason they're saving. It's no longer, oh, I'm saving to get this return, or I'm saving to get this share. I'm saving because this is what I want to create. This is the life I want to have. The conversation changes completely.
So women obviously need to look at their saving habits. Does this necessarily mean that when they sit down with a financial planner, it should be them alone? Is that what we need to see? Or should the partner, the husband, whoever they have in their lives still be coming with them?
Good question, really good question. And I encourage partners to go together, whether it's male or female. I encourage you to go together because if you're able to have a conversation around money, which, as we know, is one of the biggest causes of divorce, is people having breakdown in their communication around money. So when you're with your financial planner putting the plan in place, you're actually sitting together, you're having a conversation in quite a neutral space because you're talking about it, but you're doing it together, there's a plan together. That said, I'm not saying that you should have joint bank accounts or you should only have one investment. Each have your own, but have the understanding that you respect each other, what you're doing, but you understand that you're not also going out of your way to do the opposite to each other, because then what is the point of a financial plan?
How do we then put retirement planning at the forefront of what women should be focusing on? Does it come down to education in making women financially savvy?
Definitely, and being able to speak in a way that the woman would actually want to relate to and actually understand. So for me, very important is not to be starting when you're just coming up to retirement, to be starting at your age and even younger than you, because if you're doing that, you don't have to be putting that much away as when you're starting so much later. So people are coming and starting at 40 and 50, and then they can't even think how they're going to have enough to be able to save. Whereas if you're starting at 20 and it just becomes a habit, and pay yourself first, it's a habit, it goes into the investment, all of a sudden when you get to 65 or to 70 when you decide to retire, it's not this major stress that you're having to deal with.
Kim, let's